Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is honestly a pretty high-stakes tech story. So, I want you to meet Rahul and Priya. They're two recent college grads standing right at the edge of the massive, sometimes intimidating world of cloud computing. Now, they're about to make a monumental decision that's literally going to shape their entire careers. So, let's follow their journey and uncover how you can navigate this exact same crossroads. Picture this. Rahul decides he's going to pour absolutely all of his energy into AWS, Amazon's cloud platform. But his friend Priya, she goes the completely opposite direction and chooses Microsoft Azure. Now, the stakes here are incredibly high when you're just starting out in tech. Who gets the better job? Who's going to climb the ladder faster? Well, let's find out. All right, part one, the cloud crossroads. So let's look at how they kick things off. Rahul just absolutely loves the whole concept of cloud computing, so he goes all in. He buys this massive, comprehensive AWS course, and he's studying day and night to master the Amazon ecosystem. Priya's path is kind of different, though. She ends up joining a company that already relies heavily on Microsoft products, so she starts learning Azure on the job. So they're both working incredibly hard, but they're walking completely different technological roads. But here is the reality check that so many beginners face. Despite all their studying, despite all that hard work, neither Rahul nor Priya actually knows if they made the right choice. I mean, they're constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering if the grass is greener on the other side. Did Rahul accidentally box himself into a corner? Did Priya tie her career to the wrong horse? It's a really heavy question when you're just starting out.
Which brings us to part two, the giant cloud race.
Because, to really understand their choices, we have to zoom out and look at the actual market. Now, AWS has been the heavyweight champ for years. They hold the largest slice of the cloud pie by a pretty wide margin, but Azure is growing incredibly fast, and that's heavily driven by strong adoption from enterprises that are already using Microsoft tech. And yeah, Google Cloud is trailing behind them, but the crucial takeaway here, this is not a winner-takes-all race. Both AWS and Azure are dominant platforms with plenty of room to operate. And when you look at who is actually using what out in the real world, a really clear divide emerges. AWS is basically the engine behind modern tech trailblazers. We're talking companies like Netflix, Airbnb, Amazon, Pinterest. Azure, on the flip side, powers Microsoft and LinkedIn, obviously, but it is also the absolute backbone for massive traditional banks and large-scale enterprises. So AWS kind of dominates the fast-moving startup space, while Azure is deeply, deeply entrenched in established corporate environments. All right, moving on to section 3, jobs, skills, and salaries. Basically, what all this means for your career. Because, let's be real, this is a universally understood feeling in tech. Rahul logs into the AWS console for the very first time and is just instantly overwhelmed by the sheer number of services. It's like a giant puzzle. And, across town, Priya opens the Azure portal at her new job and is completely confused by the interface and the terminology. So, despite taking different paths, they hit the exact same wall of initial confusion. But then, they have a bit of a breakthrough. A little bit of wisdom courtesy of a friendly cloud mascot dropping in. The mascot says, "They're different, but once you learn one cloud, learning another becomes much easier." And this is a massive realization. The buttons might change, the names might be different, but the underlying concepts, things like networking, computing, and storage, they transfer beautifully. Rahul and Priya aren't just learning a brand, they're learning fundamental cloud architecture. And you see this play out perfectly out there in the job market. There are literally thousands of cloud jobs available. Fast-moving startups are generally asking for AWS skills. Massive enterprises are leaning toward Azure to leverage their existing Microsoft setup. The exact mix you'll see completely depends on the specific company and even what region you live in. But the bottom line, the jobs are out there, regardless of which platform you pick. So let's just address the elephant in the room right now. It's the question Rahul finally asks, and honestly, it's what everyone wants to know. Who earns more? Is the AWS guru or the Azure specialist taking home the bigger paycheck at the end of the day? Well, our mascot drops another truth bomb with a laugh. Employers pay for your skills, not just the cloud logo. And it is so true. A strong AWS engineer and a strong Azure engineer are both going to have excellent, highly paid careers. The market rewards your actual problem-solving abilities and your deep technical understanding. It does not just blindly reward the brand name stamped on your resume. So, section 4, which should you choose? Let's figure out your starting point. Basically, if you absolutely love the fast-paced world of startups, if you're super passionate about DevOps, And if your heart beats for Linux, containers, and open source tech, AWS is going to be a highly logical first choice for you. It really is the absolute heartbeat of that open source culture. But on the flip side, if you thrive in a more structured, Microsoft-centric ecosystem, working with Windows Server, Microsoft 365, and heavy-duty enterprise IT environments, Azure is your natural fit. It just integrates so seamlessly into what those massive corporations are already doing.
So, what's the final beginner verdict here? Honestly, if you are starting completely from scratch, AWS is an amazing default. It has a massive ecosystem and abundant learning resources everywhere. But Azure is equally excellent if your goal is to walk straight into a corporate IT pathway at a big enterprise. You genuinely cannot go wrong with either.
Which brings us to Section 5, and honestly, a bit of an unexpected twist. Let's jump ahead in time. Fast forward a full year. After the stress of making that post-graduation choice and pushing through that brutal initial learning curve, both Rahul and Priya have successfully been hired. They've made it! And, as fate would have it, they happened to cross paths a year later at a massive tech conference. So they're catching up, sharing war stories, and Rahul looks at Priya and casually says, "I've finally learned Azure." And Priya just smiles right back and replies, "Well, I just started learning AWS." After a full year of actually working in the industry, the ultimate realization for both of them was that they needed to cross over. They had to learn each other's platform. And that brings us right back to our mascot, who returns to hammer home the overarching lesson of this entire story. The best cloud engineer isn't limited to one cloud. True expertise in this industry completely transcends a single platform. The goal isn't to pick a team like it's sports and defend it forever. The goal is to become a master of cloud computing as a whole. So here is the ultimate actionable strategy that you can walk away with today. Step 1. Pick a cloud based on your current interests or what the job market looks like around you. Step 2. Learn it deeply. Seriously, don't just skim a surface, actually understand the architecture. And then Step 3, expand to the other. Once you master the foundation in one, you take those transferable skills, apply them to the other, and you become a total multi-cloud powerhouse. Now, I do want to give a quick shout out to our source material for this story today, CloudForge. Their whole mission is making cloud computing simple, and their insights really perfectly frame how to navigate this complex journey. Because we know the very best engineers out there aren't boxed into just one cloud. You are going to learn them both eventually, for sure, but the journey has to begin somewhere. So, which cloud will be your first? Think about your own goals, think about Rahul and Priya, and take that first step today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep on learning.